and welcome back to Table Talk. Happy Thanksgiving week. Woohoo! We've made it. It's November and I can't believe it. We're here and it's 2023 is almost come and gone, and it's absolutely incredible. I don't believe that we're knocking on 2024. Do you, Cary?
Oh man, I can't believe it. It has gone by. It's been a blur.
It really has. I mean, at the end of the year, Pastor Ricky and I always do a table talk, doing a rewind of the year. And we talk about the different series that we've had throughout the year and how God has spoken to us and through us throughout the entire, year. And I can't believe that time is almost here. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. So, but anyway, welcome back to Table Talk. I've got Cary Seaholm back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there she is for part 2 of this segment that we've been doing on marriage. So welcome back, Cary.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. I think that we need to start scheduling ourselves throughout the rest of 2024, since you're also very busy. And we need to bring some of these wonderful topics about marriage and having a godly marriage, not just any old marriage, but a godly marriage, right?
Amen to that.
We need to do that. But Cary, for those of you that may not know, is the wonderful author of this amazing book. Let me put it a little closer so you can see it for our audience that is watching this on YouTube. The Name Changer: How to Heal from the Devastation of Divorce. It's a phenomenal book. Get your hands on it. I would suggest that if it's not for you, maybe get it to your friend. Get it to someone that is struggling. I think that anybody and everybody should read it, quite honestly. Not because you foresee divorce or anything like that, but I think that it'll arm you to be able to speak to someone that may be going through a difficult time through divorce. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It gives you a perspective into their pain and what
Yes.
they're going through and what you can do to help them in this time.
Right. That's absolutely right. So I'm grateful for your work. I'm grateful for the fact that you've been able to come on and glean some wonderful insight to, the pain and suffering of going through a divorce, but also, like we're going to be doing today as part 2, how to divorce proof your marriage, right? And we had part 1, last month, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we had part 1 last month, and today we're going to conclude with part 2. But I would encourage our listening audience that if you did not catch part 1, even if you didn't watch the first segment that we did together, I encourage you to go back to our YouTube channel, go to our website, wordoffaithglobal.org. You can also listen to us on podcast, and go back and listen to those, and then catch up with this one for part 2, because today we're going to go ahead and tackle once again how to divorce proof our marriage. Last time we were together, you covered something that was super interesting, and that was on the 4 horsemen, how to avoid the 4 horsemen. And we talked about criticism, contempt, stonewalling, and defensiveness. That was eye-opening, to say the least.
Well, it leads back to the things that we do that can hurt our marriage and our partners. And so we talked a great deal about that, and I'm hoping that today we can get through the wonderful things, the good things, because we talked about the master couple versus the disaster couple.
Yes.
The disaster couple, they do these 4 things.
Yeah.
The master couple, we're going to talk about some of those things that they do that help strengthen the bond of the union.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're gonna build a foundation here, right? We're gonna be discovering today the 7 principles of a healthy marriage, right? And
correct.
Just to give you, or give the audience, a little bit of a layout, they are, let me see if I've got them right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and you're going to build on these, but it's building
Correct.
love maps,
Mm-hmm.
Building fondness and admiration, turning towards, accepting influence, solvable problems.
That's a
Okay.
mouthful.
Yes, it is. Try to say that 3 times really fast. And then overcoming gridlock, I'm really interested in that one. And then creating shared meaning. And I think that was it, right?
Correct.
So why don't you go ahead, Cary, and start us off on these? I'm excited about today.
Oh, good. Yes. So thank you so much again for having me. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right on in.
Yeah, do that.
Any marriage, the foundation needs to be what is found in First Corinthians 13. And we look at what it says about love. And if you can sum it all up, love is sacrifice, plain and simple. Thinking of your partner, putting your partner's needs ahead. I talked a lot last time about understanding and having the intimate knowledge that your partner has your best interest at heart for you, and you have your partner's best interest at heart for them. If that is the foundation of your relationship, you can overcome those four horsemen of the apocalypse
Yeah.
if you're willing to put in the work, and you can start building on some of these principles that we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So the first one, as you mentioned, is building love maps. It's really being your partner's friend.
Okay.
When we um, first meet each other, we're very interested in what our partner thinks, what they feel, their hopes, their dreams, what's going on in their inner workings. We're really interested. We ask questions. We take the time to get to know each other. We take the time to understand those things. But as time goes by, we stop asking questions.
Yeah.
We're not as interested. And as individuals, as time goes by, we change and we grow and we mature. And the things that were true of us 10, 15 years ago may not be true today. But if partners are not in tune to each other, if they're not asking those questions, if they're not spending the time, that's where they say, well, they're just a stranger.
Yeah.
I don't know them anymore. That doesn't happen overnight. That
Yeah.
happens over time
Right.
because you haven't taken the time to know each other, understand each other, and really know what's going on in the inner workings of that person's mind.
Yeah.
The master couples, as we've talked about, knew each other. They know each other's love map really, really well. They're in tune with their partner. They're still friends. They're
Right.
playful and they care about what's going on, what they're thinking about. The disaster couple, on the other hand, has a really outdated version of the love map. They don't know their partner as well as they should. So it's important to continue to ask questions. It's important to continue to pursue your partner. It's important to spend quality time together.
Yeah.
That is key. So the next one is building fondness and admiration.
Can I pause you on that real quick?
Yes,
Because
of
I'm
course, of
thinking
course.
about, while you were talking about the first one, I'm thinking about how, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, maybe in another table talk segment, when we may have brushed the subject, but I remember when my son was recently married, with his wife, Brianna, and I wouldn't say recently. I would say maybe a couple of years in, maybe 3, 4 years in, more or less. I remember he said something very interesting to me one day. He said, "You know, Mom, I actually asked Bree, how are we doing? Or I'm
Mm,
curious about how she thinks our relationship is going, or I'm just curious about what are some of the things that I can do to change that may bother you." And I looked back at him. I remember looking back at him and going, my goodness, you're mature for your age. Because I don't know if he actually saw that in my relationship with my husband. Does that make
that's
sense to
really
you?
good. Yeah, he was being intentional in
Yeah.
gauging the relationship.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it. Another part of it is because him being attuned into what her needs are and what she needs from him.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but another part of it is, have you ever met somebody who says, oh, while they're at work, or they say, well, I'm a totally different person at work,
Oh,
and I can really be myself when I'm not at home.
oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Right. That's because the love maps are outdated. That's because they can't be their authentic true self at home and outside of the home.
Wow.
So when we know each other really well, you're going to get the same version of your spouse. Of course, they play different roles if they,
Sure.
within the work environment, but at their core, they're still who they are. And your partner should know you better than anybody. And you should be friends. It should be your best friend. And when you can't be yourself around your partner,
Yeah.
that is a tell. That is a red flag.
Okay.
When
Okay.
you feel like you have to hide certain parts of yourself, or you can't fully express who you really are, or you have to be guarded, tell.
Mm.
Very big red
Okay.
flag.
So would you
Mhm.
say then, to kind of reiterate it in a sense, to give you an example, and maybe you can help us, decipher whether that is a red flag or not. So if someone were to, an example, if someone were to come up to me and tell me, they know me outside of my marriage. They don't know my husband necessarily. This is just an example, because it's not like we do, not like this is really me. I'm just giving an example. They know me outside of my marriage. They don't know my husband, but all of a sudden we have, I don't know, a get together or something, and they see me with my husband. And if they come to me and say, wow, you're totally different. You're a totally different person with, with your husband or around your husband than when you're outside of, that outside of the sphere of being, together with your husband. Would you consider that a red flag?
It depends on the context,
Okay.
because in certain situations you do have to possess a certain level of decorum and
Sure.
professionalism, and
Sure.
you can't really be your authentic self um, in certain professional environments.
Sure.
So that's a little bit, gray.
Okay.
But if we know ourselves really well,
Yeah.
and if we feel that we can't be our true selves, and that we can't laugh or have or say a joke or just have our guard down around our spouse, that's a sign that there's a major disconnect.
Okay.
That's a sign that you may not know each other as well as you think.
Okay. Okay.
This is
Good.
where the marriage is now starting to drift,
Gotcha.
because they're no longer friends. Now they're husband and wife, but the friendship piece is what's missing.
Right.
Like,
Right.
for example, I've heard many married couples say, I would never want to go on vacation with my husband.
Oh, wow.
I would never want to go on vacation with my wife.
Wow. Yeah.
They don't have fun together anymore.
Wow. So a lot of people, a lot of couples prefer going on vacation with other couples or with
They want
other
to get away from their
people because
spouse.
they want to get away from their
Yeah, they want
spouse.
to get away from their spouse.
Not that that's
Right.
a funny thing, but you know what I mean.
That is a huge red flag.
Of course.
Um, right. So
Wow.
to answer your question, I hope I answered your question
You
in a
did,
roundabout
yes.
way. Okay.
You did. You did. That's good. I wanted to kind of give I don't know, maybe just a vague example just to see where that kind of lands. And yes, it is vague. It's kind of like a gray area because you got to give more context to it. But, it kind of gives the idea. So yeah, you did answer the question.
So
Okay.
it's truly about knowing each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Your love map is knowing each other's world.
Okay.
That's really what it is. The love map is really their inner workings, their world.
Okay. So say a couple is struggling in this aspect. Yeah. So what would be something that they can begin to, I don't know, maybe like a step one? How do you go back to rebuilding that love map?
You go
It,
back to the basics. You go back to the beginning. You try to get to know each other again. You ask questions, you spend time together.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
there's so many things that push couples apart, that
Yeah.
pull them apart, whether it's, the home, the kids,
Sure.
job, all the extracurricular activities, because so many families are bombarded with this,
Mm-hmm.
and other responsibilities or outside forces. There's always something trying to pull couples apart,
Right.
but couples need to be intentional
Yeah.
in spending time together,
Yeah.
in knowing each other really well.
Yeah.
It
Good.
is it's they have to ask questions and do those things that will help build the love map,
Right.
or
Right.
understand the love map of the other person, excuse me.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so that's number one. And then you
Sure.
were about to say number two, which is building fondness and admiration. Talk a little bit about that.
It's the simple things,
It's
saying thank you. It's being seeing your partner, seeing what they do,
okay.
being appreciative of the things that they do and what they bring to the relationship. um Master couples saw 80% of the good acts. So it's not about the amount of good acts. It's
Okay.
what is seen and what is not seen.
Okay.
So disaster couples only saw 50%
Wow.
of the good things that their spouses did versus the master couples that saw 80%. And not just see them, but comment on it, affirm their spouse,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that their spouse knows that they're appreciated and cared for.
Right. Um, would would you say that words of affirmation kind of falls into this category, give or take, more or less?
Yes, absolutely it does.
Yeah.
But it's also about using positive adjectives when talking about your spouse and to your spouse.
Okay.
So many people make a habit of speaking ill of their spouse to others,
Right.
and that's not that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's not okay. They're always denigrating their spouse or making jokes at their spouse's expense.
Right. Right.
And it's not funny to the spouse that's the object of this joke. It's only
Sure.
funny to the person making the joke.
Right.
it and for so long, there's so many couples that this has been going on for so long that it's a part of their dynamic, but it it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point that it's been happening for so long and so long and so long that there's just it's a part of the dynamic, and they just shrug it off and pretend that they could just go on with it.
Yeah.
But it does, those little digs, they eat away at a person, and
Yeah.
it makes them feel criticized, and it makes them feel unloved. Or you know how many women or how many men, when someone else is speaking really nicely about their spouse, think to themselves, man, I wish my spouse would speak of me like that.
Yeah. Probably a lot of couples.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's those
Yeah, I
little,
wish my spouse would say something nice about me to other
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Um, so the other day, just a quick anecdote. The other day, I uh, I saw this couple, and they have a lot of young children. I think like 5 children, and he's in the military, and she holds down the fort while he does what he has to do.
Sure.
And she is a very good mother, tremendous mother. And I I took note, and I said it to her because I'm a big believer, if you see something good, you say it.
Absolutely.
So I made sure, I said, wow, you're doing such a great job as a mother.
Yeah.
And her husband did not miss a beat. At that moment, he said, yes, she's a very good mother. She's a very good wife. She's a very good friend, in front of everyone.
That's awesome.
And he's saying her praises in front of everyone. How
Right.
loved must she have
Oh, yeah.
felt at that moment?
Oh, yeah. There's that love tank that rises up when that happens all the time.
And in Proverbs, it says that her husband and her children will call her blessed.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Wow, I
So
love that. I love that. You know, it's like you said, it's those little things. Um, Earlier, I was getting we were talking off camera. I was trying to get the turkey, um, all marinated and stuff. Who likes a dry, non-salty turkey? So I was trying my best to get everything done with the turkey. So to stick it in the refrigerator so that we can have it all nice and ready for Thanksgiving, and my husband was helping me, and he was like, no, give me. I did this compound butter with sage and with thyme and all this stuff, so it was all mixed in there, and he said, no, give it to me. I'll go ahead and I'll how do you say, spread it all
Yeah,
over it or
spread it
whatever.
on the turkey. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking Spanish and I don't want to say the Spanish word, but anyway, yes, pour it all over the turkey. And while he's doing, because I said, honey, I can do that. And he says, I didn't want you to do this because I know you just had your nails done. And it was
Mm-hmm.
the silliest thing. And I said, oh, that's okay. I could have worn gloves. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
problem. I just, get one of those disposable gloves. But as you're saying this, I thought to myself, I remembered that and I go, man, it's those little tiny things. And, at the moment, I didn't appreciate it as much as I am now talking to you about it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because it's kind of like, in a way, it's like a norm, like he'll do stuff like that, or I'll do stuff like that. And it's like, it's a norm for us. So it's not as if, oh, you stay for the moment and, oh, you bask in the moment of being so appreciative. It's kind of like a little bit of a norm for us, right? But now when you're saying that, I thought it is those little things. He got his hands dirty so that I wouldn't, because my nails were done. Just silly stuff
That
like
was sweet.
that. That
Yeah.
I think it just raises that love tank a little more, more each time.
Right. And letting your spouse know that you appreciate those little things instead of focusing on the negative, because it's so easy to focus on the
It
negative.
is. It really is. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. All right. So we've talked a little bit about the second point, which was building fondness and admiration. That, I think that's a big one for me, I gotta say, because I am a words of affirmation type person. So I know that this kind of falls a little bit into that category. And I am that type of person. That's how I feel loved, is when I am told thank you, when I am told that was a good thing you did, or good job, or whatever. So that falls high for me. All right, we're
And
gonna
a lot of these too do tap into the love. Um,
sure,
yeah.
the love language,
So
right?
the love languages. So we notice in the first one, there's quality time. There's
Sure.
now this one is words of affirmation. So if we can be intentional about that, that would even be a simpler
Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, turning towards each other instead of away.
Okay.
So turning toward each other means accepting your partner's bids. What are bids, you might ask? Well, it's anything your partner says or does that is them reaching out for a connection. It can be as subtle as them saying, oh, wow, look at the sunrise. It's so beautiful. That's them inviting you to
Mm-hmm.
come look at the sunrise with them. Or as obvious as, hey, can you come and sit next to me? The master couple turned toward each other 88% of the times those bids were offered
Wow.
versus the disaster couple only did it 30%.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So when you turn away, when someone's calling for you and you turn away, what is that communicating to them? You're not a priority.
Sure.
I have other things to do.
Right.
What you have to say and do is unimportant to me. So when your partner wants connection, be there.
Yeah.
And a real easy example. Honey, how was your day? Ah, it was all right. It was good. That is communicating to your partner that you really do not care to communicate with them.
Okay.
You're not telling them how things went. You're
Okay.
giving them no attention. Worse yet, another, I've heard this happen when someone asks, how was your day? They will say, you don't really care. You're only asking because you want to talk about yourself. You know,
Yikes.
that
Yeah.
that's so that's again, them asking for your attention or wanting to connect with you on some level and then being pushed away. Another example is when your partner gasps, for example, like, oh my goodness, what is the common response? Oh, you're being so dramatic. Instead of, hey, are you okay? What's wrong?
Right. Right.
That you're being so dramatic, again, minimizes that person's reaction, shows you're not really interested
Right.
in what they have to say.
Right.
When you turn away from your partner's bids, you're actually eroding trust in the relationship.
Mm.
And it's not just in big things like fidelity, it's in other things. Are you a safe person that I can share my emotions with?
Right.
Are you someone that's going to care?
Right. Right.
And the more and more that there's a disconnect, again, it goes back to not knowing each other's love maps. They're not a safe person that you can share things with. You can't be vulnerable because they neither care nor have the time. They
Mm-hmm.
don't make you a priority. So a couple of ways that you can offset some of this and start turning toward your partner is showing genuine interest in them,
Okay.
expressing affection, taking their side. When things happen, taking their side.
Mm.
Communicate understanding, being patient, validating their emotions instead of dismissing them.
Right.
It's, instead of, oh, you're being so dramatic, you always, you never. No, you want to listen.
Okay.
Do not give unsolicited advice when your spouse is sharing their heart. Listen to understand instead of to solve.
Mm.
Don't be so quick to blurt either. Listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
Take the time, listen, then respond after you've listened.
Yeah. The don't give unsolicited advice when your spouse is sharing their heart, and to listen rather than trying to solve is a real big one, I think, with couples. And from experience too, because we've counseled so many couples through the years. And that's a big one because a lot of times you might know this better than I do, but a lot of times the man is always the one that wants to solve the problem for the wife. Typically, not always, but the man usually wants to solve the problem. So the wife comes with a complaint, and the husband, rather than being empathetic or listening, might come in with a problem solving, idea. And so the wife may feel like, well, you're not, I don't want you to solve the problem. I just want you to hear what I have to say. I want you to hear my feelings or my emotions. So we've encountered that when it comes to, trying to counsel couples that are in trouble. And so it's a little bit difficult to try to get them to, okay, just listen, right? And it falls in line with the don't be a blurter, like the notes say, but instead listen and then respond. Would you agree with that?
It depends. Yes, typically, some women have this complaint, but it really depends on how you are made up. Some
Yeah,
people are more task oriented,
that's true.
goal minded, task oriented, and others need to process emotions before they can move on to the next thing. So
Yes.
it's really about understanding yourself too, and
Yeah.
understanding your spouse, and that's how you can figure out how to better communicate in that area.
Yeah.
It's about taking the time, because when somebody is coming to you and they're vulnerable and they want to share their heart with you, and they are shut down, or they're just given a quick you know answer,
Yeah.
the to solve the problem, what that does is it causes them to learn, okay, you're not a safe person for me to come to.
Right.
You're not someone that's going to take the time to listen. So what they will do is they'll internalize, they'll
Mm,
keep it to themselves, or they'll find someone else to talk to.
sure.
And that builds a divide. And that happens with men and women.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I can think of a lot of examples that as you're mentioning that, I can think of a lot of examples where there's that rift with, many of the couples that we've counseled, but that helps. That helps. So be, again, the phrase I keep hearing in my head is be intentional, right?
Right.
Is just be intentional. When you see yourself swaying in that aspect, then come back and be intentional. Listen, pay attention, give them the time of day. They mean so much to you. They're your spouse, you love them. Express that, right?
Right. And if you know that your spouse is a person that tends to do that, let them know from the beginning, because it can be very frustrating when you are a task oriented person and you see solutions.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
sometimes in the midst of crisis, people are stuck in the crisis and they can't see above it and they can't see the solution that's in front of them.
Sure, sure.
So when you are that kind of a person that can kind of see and put the pieces together and kind of figure things out pretty quickly,
Yeah.
it can be frustrating to hear somebody going on and on and on and on. So if you are that person that needs to process and needs your spouse to listen,
Mm,
let them know from the onset, honey, I just need you to listen to me right now. I want to share my heart with you. You don't have to give me an answer. You don't have to solve it. I just need you to listen.
that's good. That's good. All right. This is good stuff. I hope people are really taking notes and listening really closely to this, because this is good. All right, so we're on number 4.
Right. That is positive perspective. That's giving each other the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Remembering that you are on the same side. You are for each other. Even when your partner does something that is inconsiderate or forgetful, do not assume it is malicious.
Okay.
Assumptions are the killer.
Yeah.
And that's where so many things go awry when we assume.
Yeah.
So if somebody has already come into the relationship with trust and rejection issues,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to make assumptions. A
Okay.
real common one in the Hispanic culture, and I'll talk about myself, for example. I come from a family where infidelity is very common. I married, and my first husband was unfaithful. So my mother always told me, no man will ever be faithful. Men cannot be faithful. That's something that was said to me from childhood.
Wow.
So that is a worldview that I entered into my relationship with. Not really understanding that. I didn't know that I carried this to such a
Sure.
degree.
Mm-hmm.
So when I entered into my relationship with my husband, my now husband, it was very hard for me to believe that um, he would love me just for me and be faithful to me.
Sure.
And God had to do a work in my heart. I had to understand that I carried this faulty way of thinking, this false worldview that was bestowed upon me. And I came into the relationship lacking trust and having rejection issues and abandonment issues that
Mm.
I had to work through. But I couldn't take those and if my husband didn't return my call or came home late,
Yeah.
assume that he's being unfaithful. That would not be fair to him.
Of course.
Right. So that's one example. When we are coming into relationships with already a faulty worldview,
Mm-hmm.
we assume the worst.
Sure.
So having a positive perspective is number one, understanding your own fault lines, where your faulty worldview is.
Yeah.
And number two, giving your spouse the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Even when they're being grumpy or not particularly nice, I call it crispy around the edges. When they're tap dancing on your last nerve,
Or
or
hangry.
whatever, give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not purposefully trying to hurt you or purposefully trying to be malicious.
Sure, sure. Man, that's good stuff. And that, I think that speaks volumes, especially when it comes to, different cultures. We come from a Latin culture, right? And so it's unfortunate that many in our culture come with that mentality, that men are the machista, and they're not gonna be loyal to you or faithful to you. And so it's really hard coming into a relationship, a marriage relationship, even if you're a Christian, because you have that ingrained in you, right? And so I'm grateful how you express it, because you overcame that. You've gotten to a point where you um, trust your husband through trusting God in that relationship. So it's something that really you had to work with yourself, right?
Inner healing and self-reflection are
Sure.
key. I needed inner healing in that area. I
Right.
had to renounce all the word curses. I had to break that generational
Wow.
curse over my family, over my bloodline. And I had to, of course, walk in forgiveness, but understand that I carried those fault lines
Wow.
because in my thinking, because of the pain and the hurt that I saw the people that I love
Yeah.
dearly go through
Right.
and what was told to me.
Yeah.
So I had to get inner healing for that
Yeah.
so that I could walk in total freedom in my marriage
Yeah.
and fully trust my husband.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I hope this is helping somebody out there. Amen. All right.
Amen.
We've got point number 5. We've gone through 4 already.
We are doing good.
We are doing good. You're doing good.
Oh Lord, thank you, Jesus. Okay, so the next one, managing conflict.
Okay.
And so there's two kinds of conflict.
Okay.
There's ones that are solvable,
Okay.
and there's some that are unsolvable, where you will have an impasse. You and your spouse will not see things the same way. You're two different people. You have two different worldviews, two different
Sure.
perspectives. So out of all the 100% of the problems, 31% of them are solvable. The two of you can come up with a mutually agreeable solution and move forward. 69%, whether you're in the master couple or the disaster couple, are not solvable.
Interesting.
Right. So
Right.
how do you, it's about mitigating that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the so of course we build on success. We solve the solvable problems. So the master couples were able to do that versus the disaster couple. When problems came, they just dug their head in the sand and they wouldn't address the issue, and the issues would go on, and they would build resentment
Mm,
over the years because
sure.
they couldn't talk to each other about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It builds upon. Right.
It builds upon, so things that could have been resolved and solved and moved forward now have become a stumbling block in the relationship
Sure. Sure.
because the partners can't communicate.
Okay.
So the second part about um, conflict resolution is overcoming the gridlock. So
Okay.
when you are at an impasse, no one is moving. We're stuck right here. This
Okay.
is where we're at right now.
Okay.
And that leads to mounting frustration. So the way that you overcome that is by respectful conversations about the issues,
Okay.
trying to understand the other person's perspective and why they feel the way they feel with an open mind. And if both partners can do this, you can at least hear each other and
Yeah.
hear what the issues are. Sometimes there could be some false assumptions, and you can address if there's wrong information on either part.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity to address those things, but it can't be addressed if you are just stuck in your position and unwilling to listen to other perspectives outside of your own.
Yeah.
So the master couples, they talked about the deeper meaning as to why they couldn't change their mind. They talked about the truth behind their opinions or actions, um, and they continued this open dialogue. So a big issue in marriage is finances. So let's
Mhm.
just look at that as an example.
Okay.
If you as a way to overcome gridlock, let's say you have a couple. One is more fiscally minded, more about saving their money
Mhm.
and preparing for the future, and you have another one who's more of a spender,
Yeah.
right? That's a pretty common
Sure.
topic. So how do you overcome gridlock in that situation? Well, you talk about it. The saver will talk about what their goals are, why it's so important for them to save, stability, all their reasons. Maybe they grew up in poverty
Yeah.
and they, we don't know, or they were, this was something that was passed down to them from their parents, this idea of saving and not going into debt, whatever the case may be. Versus you have another one who they have money in their pocket, it's burning a hole in their pocket, and they believe that money is a way for to make memories, to make other people happy, to bring joy to the family.
Yeah.
So how do you, overcome that? Well, the spender will need to talk about why they're spending the money, what they're trying to create, what they're trying to do, what the goal is for the money being spent. And they can have an open and honest dialogue about that and set parameters. I've seen couples that have this issue set parameters that, okay, well, we'll have a joint account where we put all of our money in, but you can have a separate account that you get $100, $200, and that's yours to do with whatever you want to do. Because to them, maybe getting surprises and doing things is important to them.
Right. Right.
Or they'll set a parameter of, well, if you're going to spend over XYZ amount of dollars, we need to talk about it. So there's ways to communicate to overcome that gridlock. The saver is not exactly going to be happy all the time, and the spender is not going to be exactly be happy all the time. But it's about coming up with a compromise, coming up with something that where after they've heard each other, they take it into account.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, that helps. So that was,
But that's overcoming gridlock. So the next part about it, in regards to conflict resolution, is accepting your partner's influence. And that's exactly what it sounds like. You're able to listen to your partner without getting defensive. Remember what a defensive posture is. It's one of the horsemen.
right.
So you're listening to understand and listening to see where they're coming from. And accepting their influence does not mean that you're going to change your mind or comply just because they're telling you, because that's control. We're
Right.
not trying to control each other.
Right.
It's that you value their opinion and you take it into consideration.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's all part of the number 5 that we were talking about, the managing conflict. So, right. So to review,
Correct.
it's under that is solvable problems,
Yes.
overcoming gridlock, and
Yes.
what you just
Accepting
discussed.
accepting your partner's influence.
Got it. Got it. Those are great. Okay. Whew. I'm trying to like soak some of this stuff in because, I mean, it's a lot. If we look back, right, it sounds like it's a lot. I think that one of the main or common denominators that I hear a lot is communicate, right? Communicate. My goodness, there's so many couples out there that are not communicating. And when they communicate, it's not properly, right?
Right.
So communicate,
Right.
I think, is something big. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking that I'm also thinking about just the be intentional about your spouse's feelings and be there for them. I mean, really put yourself in the other person's shoes too. You want to be treated. You want to be treated right. You want to be treated with love, with compassion, with mercy, with grace, everything that our Lord, demonstrates to us. That's what we need to give our spouse, right? And so if we want to feel like that, then we need to give that as well. So those are kind of like, as you're talking, in my mind, this is how I picture stuff that way. In my mind, I'm like capturing these words, and I'm kind of like they're here and they're kind of going together. I don't
And
know.
making your spouse a priority. If you're going to do that,
Yeah,
making your spouse a priority.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And okay, So I'm thinking, I'm trying to put my mind on maybe someone out there that's watching this or listening to this, and maybe you're going through a rough patch in your relationship, and you're probably sitting there thinking, well, why should I do any of that if my husband or my wife is not reciprocating? So what would you say to that?
I would say you are responsible for yourself. You're not responsible for other people. And do your part and model and lead by example
So
and
good.
show love,
That's so
plant
good.
seeds of love.
Yeah.
And for many people, they cannot do this on their own. They need outside help.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if that's where you find yourself, find a good therapist
Yeah.
that can help your marriage.
I can't stress that enough. If you are going through something so difficult, or you just can't seem to get a breakthrough in your marriage, seek help. I mean,
Right.
just humble yourself. I mean, we all need help in one way, shape, or form. It doesn't mean that you're less than. On the contrary, I think it really shows a sign of strength, of you saying, you know what, I really need to work on this, and I need our marriage to work out. I think that that's a sign of strength.
Right. So if a partner has checked out, like in the example that you gave,
Yeah.
the checking out is the stonewalling phase.
Right.
It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
It's through an accumulation of time, of hurt, of hopelessness and frustration.
Right. Right.
So there needs to be a change in the relationship. Someone has to take the first step
Sure.
and trying to bring healing to the union.
Yeah.
It can't just keep going on. Well, then if they're not going to do it, then I'm not going to do it either. And we'll
I
just continue to live this way. And that's
exactly.
not healthy.
No, that won't get you anywhere. As a matter of fact, I think that that'll get you in a lot of trouble.
Well, that'll get you to divorce court.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Did you
Or
see the
a
movie?
lifetime of unhappiness. Either
Oh yeah,
one of the
for sure.
two.
Exactly. And both are terrible. Did you see the movie Fireproof? I think it was
I
Fireproof.
did. I did.
I think that's the one. Uh, is it Kirk Cameron?
Yes.
Yeah, that he ends up completely changing, right? And the wife is like, so stunned at the fact that he's changed for the better. And then, her walls start coming down. And did I get the movie right? Is it Fireproof?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've not watched the movie, she's just spoiled it for you. But
Sorry. It's an old movie, so get over it.
get over it. No, actually, no, it's actually really good. And it's a great example because he did not take responsibility for himself. He just would blame her. No, because she.
Yeah.
And when he finally took responsibility for himself, if you notice in the very beginning, the wife was so guarded that she was not interested in anything he had to say or do. And
No.
she rejected all of his
Yes.
goodwill, all of his advances, even though he was repentant and seeking reconciliation and
Sure.
trying to make things right. It took some time
Yes.
for her walls to come down. And that was because he was consistently he was showing her that he really did care
Yeah.
and was going to make the changes. He was consistent about it, and of course with the Lord, and they were able to bring that union back together.
Yeah.
But it does take someone many times to take the first step. You have to go toward each other.
Yeah. I love that movie. I recommend it for those of you that haven't
Yes,
seen
very
it.
good.
It's a really good movie, but it just brought back a memory of seeing that, and seeing that he didn't give up on, even though she kept pushing back because of her walls were so, and understandably so, right? But it got to a point where he chipped away at those walls because he didn't give up, and I think that that was important. Yes, it was a movie, but this is very typical of a lot of relationships where a couple or one of the spouse could give up. Oh, I'm tired of doing good. I'm tired of, you know, making amends or trying to make amends. I'm tired of saying I'm sorry, or you know what I mean? And so in this case, in the movie, he didn't give up, and it got to a point where she ended up accepting him back, and they reconciled in their marriage. So it's a good example of what you've been talking about here. At least this is what, came to mind, especially with this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to the next one, we're at number 6. It's making life dreams come true.
Okay.
This is when you are self-actualizing, which is in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the highest level. And it's working to help your partner achieve their dreams. When you go from surviving to thriving, that is the only way that this can happen. But if
Yeah.
you're in survival mode where you're at each other, or you're not in a contented place and you're not really friends, you really can't do this for the other one. When you are thriving in your marriage, you are you are free to pursue your life's purpose. You support your partner. You are their biggest cheerleader. Even when they have messed up and have failed, you're there to encourage them, to spur them on, to be that lifeline, that they can be vulnerable with you and decompress from the outside world, and continue to get up the next day and fight the good fight,
Yeah.
because they're supported and they're loved, and they can move forward in that way. So it's important to think about, even if your dreams don't align, to think about how you can support your spouse in their life's purpose and in their dreams. So many people, this is why I always say, who you marry is the biggest decision after accepting Christ that
Oh
you will
yes.
ever make in your life,
Oh yes. I could.
because they can make your life a living hell, or they can push you on to your purpose and destiny.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
And if you are in a situation where you're not being supported and you're not able to pursue, so much of your potential has now gone to waste.
Yeah.
So it's really important for you to get the foundational issues correct, be friends again, go back to the beginning, because you fell in love with that person for a reason.
That's right.
And because of the years of hurt, damage, trauma, and the things that come in between us, the walls have now erected, and you're strangers again,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you don't feel supported. So it's important to go back to the foundational issues,
Okay.
so you can get to that place of thriving.
That's great. That's really, really, really good. And I'm reminded too of how Jesus says in Revelation, I think it's to the church in Ephesus, that you've lost your first love. When we lose our first love, all these things can start to happen. And so, come back to that first love. Like you said, there's a reason why you are together in the first place. Go back to that. Go back to those cherished memories. Good stuff, Cary. Okay. Lastly, yes.
I can't believe it. We made it to number 7 before
I
the time ran
know.
out.
I know. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. So the next one is creating shared meaning. What that means is you're creating something new and unique to your relationship. You create your own traditions, your ways of connecting. When you have free time, you take care of each other. You create routine within one another. You create rituals that foster connectedness. Because we are different people, we have different ways, different worldviews, and different ways that we have thought about what marriage looks like.
Sure.
When you come together, you create your own. And what does family look like to you? What do you do during your free time? How do you connect with yourself and each other? Um, how often do you connect with people outside of your relationship? That to have friendships and things like that. So the list goes on.
Yeah.
You can look at it, slice it any way you want, but
Yeah.
it's creating something that is unique to your relationship.
Yeah. That's really good. Creating shared meaning. Man, can we talk more? This is so good. I mean, honestly, these are some phenomenal points. I know that when you've had seminars that you've held in different venues, in churches and whatnot, I know that you usually have some PowerPoints to show, or I call them PowerPoints. I don't know, artwork or whatever, which are great for people to see. But and you and I have been talking about getting a seminar together down here in South Florida. So hint, hint, folks, for those of you that are listening and are here in our neck of the woods down in South Florida, the Miami and Broward County area, we will be having Cary for a one-day seminar, maybe two. We'll see how that works out and when, so be in tune for that. Any last words, any last advice that you can give, maybe to someone out there that is listening to this and is maybe in their last leg, like
Right.
they are, just it's a hairline, uh a hairline decision making moment in their lives where they are trying to decipher whether they are going to hold on to their marriage or not. Any last advice, anything that you'd like to share?
Right. People don't get to this place overnight. It takes time to get to this place where you feel like you just want to throw in the towel and you're done.
Yeah.
It's really important to invest in your relationship, not just when you feel like it's about to crumble, but
Mm-hmm.
daily, minute
Mm-hmm.
by minute. Invest in your marriage to be open and honest. If you are considering divorce, to be open and honest with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
invite Christ in, and
Mm-hmm.
be willing to do the work, and to take a look in the mirror too, as to how you have now contributed, not just about what they have done to you, because it's so easy to point that finger.
Sure.
Be willing to accept responsibility, be willing to invest in your relationship, and put in the work that's necessary,
Yeah.
because there are so many marriages that can be saved that are just not, because people are so quick to walk away instead of doing the hard work of repairing the ruins.
Good. Good.
So if you find yourself in this place, I would greatly encourage you to seek help.
Yeah.
You got to this place because you've tried what you can do, you know how to do on your own. Invest in your marriage. Get outside help. I am a therapist. I can see clients in the state of Florida virtually or in person in the city of Tampa, or virtually across the state. But find a good therapist.
Yeah.
Ask for referrals. And if that therapist is not a good fit for you, find another one.
Mm-hmm.
But be willing to put in the work.
Yeah. That's good advice. Good advice. How can our listeners find you and find your work, your material, your book, which I have right here, this one here? How can people find you? And I would love for you to share your social media as well.
Thank you so much. I have a website, chosencounseling.com. It's got all the information about me. It's got my book as well. I have a Facebook page, Chosen Counseling, and an Instagram as well, Chosen Counseling. And that's my website really is the main avenue. It's got my phone number, and it has all my social media links as well.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Cary, thank you again so much for taking the time and just giving us some of your wisdom, your godly wisdom, your understanding, and just all the years that you've put in order to be able to help couples. And I so appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and through these means we've become friends, and I'm super grateful for that. Like I said, one of the times that we met together, that we're family. It's not like we're like family, we are family, because you know, I mean, I don't have to go through the whole list of our family members, but we really are. And I appreciate you so much. And thank you again for being here, and for all the time that you spend with us. So
I appreciate it so much. This has been such an honor for me to be able to share on this platform, which I know that you have taken such great deal to curate, and you have been obedient to the call that God has given you. So this has been such an immense honor for me.
Well, it's not the last. I know this concludes part 2, but it's certainly not the last. We're going to get together again real soon, and I want our listeners to be on the lookout for that, and of course, be on the lookout for that seminar that we've got coming up in 2024, which is just around the corner, basically. So I want to wish every single one of you a happy, happy Thanksgiving. I pray to God that you enjoy your time together with your friends and your families, that you have just a joyous time in the Lord. And don't forget to tune in once again to Table Talk every Wednesday. I am Yvette Gallinar, and I pastor together with my husband at Word of Faith Global Ministries. And don't forget to join us for service as well on Sundays at 10 in the morning. Thank you again, Cary, and God bless everyone, and happy Thanksgiving once again. We shall see you real, real soon. Amen.